Okay, good morning conversation class. As promised, I'm just going to give you a summary of some of the things that we learned a couple of weeks ago when we attended a live debate. Now, it didn't matter what the debate was about, the fact of the matter is we really got to see people talking in English, in different dialects, low, high. It was a really tough and very interesting experience for everybody, including me. I'd never been to one of those things before. So I've got a couple of pages here of expressions that I noted down and a couple of photos to put onto the end of this video just to remind you of some of the things that came up. I'm going to run through what I've got, and then the picture at the end will show you some additional things that you had as well, and these are all things that we want to use during our live debate that we are going to have in 1 week's time. So that debate is going to be on Thursday the 4th of July at 8 o'clock, and all intermediate and upper intermediate students are invited, even if you're not currently assigned to the conversation class. Do come if you can. It will be a really good opportunity to test out some of the language skills that you've learned over the last 10 weeks. So, without further ado, I will just throw some phrases at you. The first one I heard, which I really liked, was a lovely expression: if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Meaning, well, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Okay? I'd like to bring you up to date. I'd like to bring this debate up to date and sort of summarise what we've heard so far. Very nice. I'd like to bring it up to date. Things like the problem is this, the problem is that. There is no basis for that person's argument. He has no proof of this whatsoever. There is no basis. I quite like the word things like to be aware of consequences of your actions. So if you do something, it has an effect on something else. And I like the expression, there is no comeuppance. Now, I don't even know how to spell comeuppance, but like that's saying there is no consequence. So it's just a nice word to use. Another nice expression I heard before it really got into arguments was something that had been brushed under the carpet. So I really like that one. Can you imagine this? You've got something that you really don't want to talk about, and you lift up the carpet, you take your broom and you sweep it under. So you don't get rid of the problem, you hide the problem away. Maybe you've got a similar expression like that in your country. So there were lots of things introducing arguments, like I need to start with this, or very briefly I just want to say this. They used a lot of adverbs. Now, we've been talking about adverbs a lot on the upper intermediate group, and a lot came out during the debate, like ultimately this is the best thing to do. So, you know, ultimately, fantastic. There's a strong possibility. Hang on, possibility isn't an adverb, is it? Possibly is an adverb. Sorry, but anyway, moving on. I'm going to cut that bit out, I think. I don't give a damn. What a fantastic expression. I don't care what you think. This is what I think. The other thing is this. In direct answer to your question, and then came the argument. So people were taking someone's statement or someone's question and then answering it, giving their opinion on things. One of your first statements was this, but then you said this, and you contradicted yourself. So contradiction, if you say something and then say something totally opposite, it's really good to use in arguments and debates. Somebody makes a point and they say, well, I'd like to answer your point. So to answer your point, I'd like to say this. Things like first of all, second of all. Do you know, I had never heard the expression second of all. I've always heard first of all, which is like firstly, but I've never heard second of all, which is like secondly. So maybe that's never been used before. I don't know. Another nice one, oh yes, here's one. We've got to draw a distinction between this and that. So it's about showing contrasts. Now on the conversation lesson this week we'll be looking at contrasts as well. I don't believe that that is the case. I don't believe that your point is correct. Lovely statements. Just a quick response, or very briefly, I'd like to say this. And the funny thing was that when the person who said just a quick response, or very briefly, they talked for 5 minutes about how right they were and how wrong the other person was. Just a few more before we finish. I didn't hear you convince me that you are right. I love that. Yeah. So you have to convince me that you're right, otherwise I'm right by default. It's fantastic. I would say this. Very good. And then making your statement. A lovely subtle one. I'd like to pick up on one or two things that they said. Now, we already had a look at the phrasal verb pick up, but I didn't hear it used in this context. So it's picking up things that people have said and then doing something with them, contradicting them, showing how wrong they are, showing how right you are. Great stuff. A lovely one for interrupting, because there's you know, when you're in a debate, sometimes the person's talking and talking and talking, and you need to find a way of interrupt. And I loved this one. I'd like to come here. Come in, Anna. I'd like to come in here. Yeah, just I'd like to interrupt you. Or, you know, you could of course say, may I interrupt you? Don't forget you were given a discussion document with all the some of the key phrases that weren't necessarily in the debate, but some nice ones for interrupting. And I'll just finally say this. That's about it really. Your conversation exam will be on Thursday the 4th of July. Conversation classes, of course, you need to turn up. And intermediates, upper intermediates, very welcome. Have a look at the picture at the end. Have a good look at it. Note down some key points or words or expressions that you will find helpful. We've been going through the phrasal verbs over the last couple of weeks. There's another conversation video which describes all the conversation stuff that we've been doing. And well, I'll see you later. Thank you.